Hi, Macy. It's time for question 3 in our leadership interview project. So the question is, can you think of any instances where you've had to take charge of a situation? What was your strategy and what were the results? So let's start with the terms there, where you had to take charge of a situation. I would much rather look at that from the perspective of taking ownership of a situation. So when I look at it from that perspective, I can think of a lot more opportunities to talk about. So I picked one instance. When I first went to work for a software company, that I was a customer service agent. I was a member of a team of about 5 or 6 people, not in a management role at that time, and had a situation. All right, so our particular team over time had a huge amount of case backlog. There were hundreds, literally 600-700 cases that were open and in backlog and had never been closed for a team of about 5 or 6 people. So I talked to my manager, our manager, and we had talked about the situation through meetings and stuff, but nobody was, it's like the weather. Everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it. And so I decided to take ownership. I said, look, why don't we try to do something about this? I'll own the project. Let's see what we can do to that number. And everybody's like, yeah, sure, as long as it's not me, let's do that. And so I took ownership of the situation. First thing I did, and now we're talking about strategies. So my strategy was to break the problem down and by individual is in some of those, and then there was a bucket of no man's land. So people that didn't own the case, they no longer with the company or whatever, and there were individuals that owned cases that were old or discarded or just open in backlog. So after breaking those, identifying those things and started setting goals, I started having regular meetings, and we talked about things. We reviewed those cases, and we set forth a strategy like the PDSA, Plan, Do, Study, Act. We would take several cases and say, what can we do about these? And we'd take some action. We'd follow up with a customer. If the case was old and had been discarded, we would clean it up, put in the appropriate notes in the CRM, and move forward. Well, an amazing thing happened. Over the course of a couple of months, we were able to reduce that number to almost less than 100, to almost nothing. So then we started looking at cases by age, cases in backlogs that are over 90 days or whatever, and we developed some new strategies and some new metrics and metric story to be able to identify and not let those things get out of hand. So the outcome was really great. By taking ownership of something, by taking charge, we were able to significantly change our business and how we managed and paid attention to cases. And I got the recognition from my leaders when there was a management opportunity available. I think as a result, not just directly of that, but certainly correlative to that, I was asked to be a manager. Ultimately, I became a director of the company, and I significantly changed my career path with that company. So never be afraid to take ownership, not just taking charge. It's not about managing people or making people do things, but taking ownership of issues and helping others achieve a goal. So that's my example of taking charge or taking ownership, I would prefer to call it. I hope it helps.